Hi, and welcome back to Reflect to Connect Student Learning. I hope that you enjoyed the video and the three texts that I provided and found some practical ideas. I wanted to make sure that you pulled out what was important to you, but I also wanted to share what was important to me, particularly from the video. The video talked about having students build this internal compass. And so often it seems we do that work for them. And to accelerate learning, to get students to where we need them to be, they need to have that internal compass where they actually get to use the skills that we've been teaching them. Remember that we want to focus on skills and not subject specific content, really. The content is just the vehicle for students to use the skills. One of the other things that I thought was extraordinarily important is when it talked about having students always write for their reflection. Now, y'all know how I feel about writing, so I'm not telling you not to have students write. Please do not call Shane McCord and say Wendy Peterson said not to have the kids write. Not what I'm saying. What I am saying, and what the video said, is if students are using too much of their cognition to get what they've learned out in writing, at least let's offer them some different opportunities for them to share their learning. So Britt, my colleague, talked about today in the YouTube live how her daughter had to build a litter book for one of her assignments, and she video recorded her sharing how she built it and why she built it and what she learned from building it, and allowing students to talk, to record themselves, perhaps to put it in a Foursquare with a mix of words and pictures. All of those things will enable students to do deeper reflection than always having them write. Again, this is not to say they can't write. It's just to say that we do need to switch it up sometimes, particularly when we are looking to have them do that metacognition for what they learned. And especially right now with the remote learning, it's a great time for them to do other activities besides just writing. I also wanted to talk for just a moment about the Edutopia article, which was the scaffolding one. If you just skipped over the articles, and I can understand the temptation to do that, then you may have missed that the article provided these 40 reflection questions so that you don't even have to make these up. You can use these right here. And they're categorized backward looking, inward looking, outward looking, and forward looking. And so you have these to pull from, and of course, you can rewrite them as needed for your subject or grade level. But I really believe that most everything you need is right here in the 40 reflection questions. So I hoped that that would be helpful for you as well. I also wanted to focus a little bit on Dr. John Hattie. As most of you know, in our department, his research is the foundation for everything we do. And sometimes people think that reflection is kind of a soft skill or not that important. If we don't get to it, it's okay. But really, reflection is key to learning. So if you remember with Dr. Hattie and the research, a point 4 is the minimum that we really want. That's a year's worth of growth. Anything above point 4 means it's more than a year's growth or has the potential to create more than a year's growth with students. And so I wanted to talk to you about where the reflection comes in with Dr. Hattie. And I actually found 3 different areas depending on how you're having them reflect, when you're having them reflect, what kind of reflection you're having them do. It could fit into one or more of these 3 categories. So, one of his categories is self judgment and reflection. Notice that the score here is 0.75. almost double that hinge point of point 4. And so this can have an enormous impact. And he defines this as students viewing their work dispassionately. And that's a skill that has to be taught. Most of us see our work as very personal, but as we can see it as something outside of ourselves, a product of our thinking and our learning, that will help. They develop evaluative expertise. And when we think to Bloom's taxonomy, we know that evaluation is second to the top. And they can discern their work's relationship to an established standard. So if you've taken our classes where we talk about learning scales, this is where that would come in. Also, effort management. Notice that it's a 0.77. Again, point 0.4, we have almost double here. And this is where they're learning to manage their mood, to talk to themselves, to persist, to keep going, and where they attribute success to effort. And the very high score here would come if you were having students reflect on um, how they uh, how they learned, what it felt like to learn. And finally, self-regulation strategies, not quite as high at 0.52, but still above that hinge point of 0.4. And this is where they're regulating their mood, their thinking, and metacognition, they're thinking about thinking. So reflection could come into any of these uh, three categories with Dr. Hattie, showing that it is not just a soft skill, but rather something that is of integral importance to learning. So my hope for you is that you have read three of the texts and looked at the video, and that now you're ready to do some creation for students to reflect. Remember, this does not just have to be a piece of writing, anything creative will do. Also, remember that this doesn't have to be at the end of a big unit or the end of the year. Students should be always reflecting on their learning. If you do something, I would love to see it. So email me or put it on our social media. If I can help in any way, you know that I'm here for you. So reflect with your students, have them process what they've learned, and know that this will be an excellent way to finish out the year. So remember, we're looking in the mirror. Thanks much.